because, oh, you can't make this without him. You can't bless your life without him. You can't do the things that you thought were so easy to do without him. Would you come on now and let's bless him like you've never blessed him before. Father God, in the name of Jesus, here we are again, oh God, giving your name the praise, giving your name the honor, giving your name the glory, because you are worthy. We come tonight before you. We come, oh God, putting ourselves before you. We come, oh God, honoring you for who you are, honoring you for what you do, honoring you for the things that you've done. Now, God, as we look to you now, we pray and ask you, if you would, sir, would you teach us how to be those type of saints that you're looking for in these last and evil days? If you would, sir, would you allow our families to come before you? Because, God, as we are looking tonight, we thank you that last night while we were slumbering, sleeping, and last night the room that we were in were not the four corners of our grave, and our bed were not our cooling boards. But God, you woke us early this morning, giving us new purpose, new direction, letting us know that you're still God, and besides you, there is none other. We come to you this evening. We come saying to you, oh God, to have your way like only you can. We come saying to you, oh God, to be for us everything that we've ever asked you for. And then, God, we'll be careful to give you praise, and we'll be careful to give you honor, because you are worthy. We thank you for all things. We thank you for what you do. We thank you for what you have done. Thank you for this evening prayer. Thank you for allowing us to come and to be a part of this great body of worship. And now, God, we give you glory. We give you honor. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Thank you now. God bless you. And I've blessed the name of God. This has been so, this has been so wonderful to me. I've been laughing so much because all the things that have been happening, everything that has been going on, it has allowed us to see that God isn't finished with us. It allowed us to see that God is yet blessing us, that God is yet allowing us to know beyond all things what he's able to do. Now, I got a few things tonight that I want to try to be with you tonight, and I want to try to make those things make some sense to you this evening. This evening, we are going to try to do some things that we are familiar with, the things that forever have been, I want to say, troubling us. But to some of us, it doesn't trouble us. Because see, some of us, we come into things, and when we come there, we give ourselves a pat on the back. But if you would hear us sometimes, and this is what we're going to try to talk about tonight. We're going to try to talk about how to prosper during a pandemic. Now, the only problem that we are going to have is that sometimes we have been conditioned to where we believe that the things that are going on around us, that we deserve them. And so what I'm trying to do tonight is that I'm hoping that I can overcome that. Because see, if we can overcome that, we're going to have some good time tonight. We're going to have a great time tonight if we can overcome that. If we can overcome the idea that everybody but us should benefit from the things that are going on, we're going to really, you're going to see some great things that are going to take place with you this afternoon. And because these things are taking place, what it does for us is that it makes it easy for someone like me. Now, number one, the problem that we've been addressing, not through the pandemic, but what happens is that what people do, they take arguments that they've been having all along and they bring them to the new argument. I don't know if you ever argue with someone that no matter what you do, they bring the new argument and they bring all of those things. They bring them to what you are trying to stop. Now, that's what we have to do today. In order for you to really feel what I'm trying to speak with you about, you're going to really have to give me some attention, some real attention, some attention that is so needed and necessary. First of all, there are three things we're going to discuss today. Number one, we're going to talk about the economics of God. No, not that silliness when people talk about you give God $1, he give you back $2. No, we're not going to do that one. Then we're going to talk about economic theology. And then we're going to try in about 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to try to unravel survival theology. Because see what has happened over the course of the last 100 years. Maybe not 100, but let's go to the late 50s and bring them to now. So we more than 70 years. Yes, the early 50s and to now. So now tonight, I'm going to sound more like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him. And see, when I talk to you tonight, the things that is going to happen is that you're going to leave me tonight with the idea of what have I been doing, and am I a part of the solution, or am I a part of the problem? Because it's kind of embarrassing to every time that I come up with some type of, every time that we come up with some type of strategy, our strategy is then, it is usurped by social problems. And then every time our strategy becomes one that we can handle, then it's taken over by problems that are religious in nature. So every time we become poised to make a breakthrough, we have to turn back around and begin. We have to begin all over again. So each generation, sometimes you want to ask, why did you go to school? Because the only thing you're bringing me back are things that you were not even here when those things happened. And the only thing you talk about, you never talk about the future. You always talk about what they did to your ancestors. And when you do that, then you say, well, did you major in history? No. Okay. Did you take any course in history other than those core courses that were required? No. You have any economic courses? No. No. So what was your major? African American studies. Oh, okay. All right. Political science. Oh, okay, okay. And then so you sit there and then you start saying, well, let's unpack what it really means to be an investor. See, because you are going to believe, and there's no way I can make you not believe this. Now we're talking about survival theology. You're going to try to make me believe that the Civil War was fought because Abraham Lincoln wanted to free the slaves. And I'm going to say to you, take this scenario for instance. There's a man from South Africa named Elon Musk. He's the richest man in America. He has a product that has never really been proven. The Tesla. 3 years ago, Tesla was almost about to be taken over by the Justice Department. 2020, Elon was saying that he may file bankruptcy. 2021, Elon is tremendously rich. And this illusion of the Tesla. But see, now Elon is considered the American dream. Migrated to the country, immigrated, whatever you call it. Went through some struggles, went through some things, and now sitting on top of the world. Now that has been the American dream for everyone but the African American. See, we were brought here as product. And the Civil War was fought with Lincoln saying, if you all don't come back to the Union, I'm going to release your product. Because the Justice Department has the power to say what's a crime and what isn't a crime. And I'm going to claim owning product is a crime. So within all of that, it's been almost 1860s, and here we are, 2020, and we're still suffering from. No, we're not suffering from the post-traumatic syndrome from that. No, we are suffering from the same type psychological battles that was perpetrated on the slave, light-skinned, dark-skinned, house field. You came from Central Africa, or you're there. You were born in this country. And so you fight this. So then you come to us now, and you're still fighting those same psychological battles. So all of a sudden, when COVID started raging, proportionately, it was supposed to be affecting people of color. And when people of color, it was affecting us, I almost said them. And then you would say, oh, this man doesn't think he's black. I am. But it was affecting people of color. And what people of color were doing, every time the news come on, every time a politician trying to get elected comes on, first thing that elected official would talk about, they would talk about how the disproportionate, the disparities between blacks and whites. Well, who take more diabetes medicine? Who takes more high blood pressure medicine? Who has more kidney problems? So even before COVID, our people were suffering Big Pharma was making tons and tons of money from us, on us. Can I say it that way? So please don't get angry when you start trying to make me feel guilty. No, I'm not going to feel guilty now. I'm not going to feel guilty because you're telling me, Wayne, the people, there were more people. Any death is a bad death. Then the vaccines. So now Black people can't get the vaccines. Oh, there are so many places that you can get a vaccine, but you have to be proactive. But unfortunately, we watch the news because what is happening is that the people around us, they are trying to make us continuously deal with this idea that I label survival theology. Because if you are struggling for survival, the thing that you will never, you'll never benefit from is what's really going on around you. See, if you're only bent on, quote unquote, staying saved, if that's all you're bent on, oh my goodness, you're gonna have a problem. Because see, what that problem is going to do is that problem is going to make you see yourself in a strange way. It's going to make you see not just where problems occur, but it's going to make you be a part of the problem. Because you are never, ever, ever, I mean, really, honestly, you'll never, ever see yourself. You'll never see yourself making things happen. You'll always be the person that will be sitting there saying that, I missed it. I missed it. So you don't prosper in a pandemic by having a pandemic mentality. No, you don't prosper in a pandemic by being afraid to step forward. You don't prosper in a pandemic by when you sit there and everything that you do, it has a destructive portion. Now, could I say that to you and you won't get angry with me? Like, for instance, like right now, here I am, and this is what has made me so upset, because every place that you look, they was telling you how terrible just one Black community called Bedford-Stuyvesant. They were saying, oh, Bedford-Stuyvesant is a horrible place. A brownstone that was $30,000, $40,000, just a mere 20 years ago. And everybody listening to me now, except for a few of you, we could have prospered from that, but we didn't. Why? Because what we were doing, we were saying, I don't want to live in Bed-Stuy. I want to live in a different type of place. I want to live in a place where it isn't considered terrible. I want to live in the burbs. I want to live in these places. And then all of a sudden, what has begun to happen is that here we are, and someone is telling us a place on Stuyvesant Avenue is $3.8 million. Now, Ray Ray is still down the street, but people don't care about that. Only thing they're caring about is the $3 million. So can you help me there? Can you help me to see all of these things that are going on? Everything that's going on around you, all the things that are happening around you, you're finding that the persons that you thought were going to have the part of you that you just knew. They were going to be some things that I could sit there and say, oh, this is great. This is fantastic. Do you really know that you can't run a business like a ministry? And that is the problem with what many of us, what we do. So every time we come up, we try to run our businesses as if they are parachurch organizations. You know, you have to stand there and, you know, I'm sitting there listening to people sometimes when I'm watching Shark Tank. Then I'm like, I remember FUBU. I remember this. I remember that. I remember all of these clothing situations because my first job was in retail. And my first job was with my first real job was with Kelwood. And the first thing Kelwood did, it bought Baby Fat, it bought Fat Farm, it bought Rockefeller, it bought FUBU. But then when you hear the people talk, they talk as if that they sold these companies for millions of dollars. Their stock is worth money. But then when they sold the companies, many of these companies, like for instance, you hear everybody talk about Def Jam Records. And this is survival theology. You hear people talk about Def Jam Records. When Mr. Simmons sold Def Jam Records, he was $22 million in debt with Def Jam Records. Then all of the big time things that were done with Def Jam Records were not done by people of color. Now I look at Suge Knight and I do feel sorry for him. He's doing 29 years in prison because he said, how can you make a movie straight out of Compton with my artist and not include me? But they were not the people he should have been angry with. He should have been angry with Interscope. He should have been angry with the owners of Interscope. He should have been angry with himself because with all the talent that he had, there was nothing he could do with it because he brought to the table a survivalist mentality. And see, whenever you bring to the table this survivalist mentality, there's nothing we can do with you. See, there's nothing we can do. And then if you spend all of your day, every Zoom you're on, every call you're making, everything that you are doing is centered around COVID, that is great. Because see, if I took you back to slavery, see, some of us today, you know, people like myself and others will say, I couldn't have made it as a slave. And someone would say, why? Because I will always be running. I probably have one foot cut off. I would have the Tinkerbell's things on. I would have everything concocted to make other Black people afraid of me. Because even now, if you ever want to label a Black man, yes, you already know how Black men are labeled. And so here's the thing, but when you're dealing with a survival mentality, what it does is that it prevents you from going forward. You can't go forward if the only thing that's on your mind is how I'm going to make it tomorrow, when you already know that you can make it tomorrow. See, you can make it tomorrow. All you have to do, and now I'm not that cynical. I'm not going to say all you have to do is listen to what I'm saying to you, what I'm trying to say to you. That is not what I would ever say to you. But what I would say to you is that all you have to do to make this work for you is to come now and let's do this in the right way. First of all, when we're looking at economic theology, what we are trying to determine, we're trying to determine, how do I go from survival? How do I meet this economic trinity? And how do I survive by changing my mindset? Now, what is survival theology? Survival theology is the idea that every time you spend a dollar, you are worrying about, really silly things. Someone said, oh, every time you buy one of our pairs of socks, you give a sock to someone. That's wonderful. Until you get somebody to invest millions of dollars in you like that, you can't do that. So I'm supposed to come to a store that's selling inferior goods. They claim the goods are Afrocentric, but they were made in Korea or they were made in China. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then don't tell me that these are Nigerian or these are African prints or African authentic things when they are not. So what we are doing, we're talking about honesty. We're talking about the idea of framing things in the right way. Now let us think about that. So, but when you come into, anytime you come into a neighborhood store, you're almost shamed into purchasing. It's not a purchase that I'm doing because you have the best product or the best price, but you shame me. Because the proprietor is trying to survive, and the person walking in the door are trying to survive. And that catalyst, it is not a synergistic, what it becomes at that point, opposites. Because you are thinking that if I don't buy something, he's going out of business. And he's thinking that you were not going to buy anything anyway. So he'll have a cat sitting on the stuff, he'll have food around, he'll have all these things. He won't clean this place up. Now, you're saying, Dr. Stokely, you're being you're stereotyping. Yes, I am. But I'm saying to you, in this economy, you don't tell the people on TV, because you stay there and watch it. You're stereotyping. That every time that the news reports who cannot get the vaccine, it's your neighborhood. Anytime the news report who's suffering the most, is your neighborhood. So it's making you believe that even if this is over, you're not going to survive anyway. And then someone comes in and they try to get you to see this economic trinity. See, whenever you see what God truly does, even in a pandemic, how God will change the way in which your circumstances are. And you don't have to believe in God, but I do. So I'm going to use it, and I'm using it in the proper way. Because there you are, and you hear people say, well, you sow with me. No, I'm not sowing with you. If I'm going to invest, I'm going to invest in the stock market. No, see, I'm going to invest then pray. I'm not going to give my money to some person and then say, I didn't give the money to God, I gave it to a person. And then all of a sudden I'm supposed to get something back from God. And he looks and he says, look at the dynamic. Look at the dynamics. Now, when did you and I talk about you giving me money? I've provided ways for you to make money. Here you are right now. These PPP, the person said to you in 2019 or 2020, if your business, you have a business that was started in 2019 and you have an EIN number from 2019, all I had to have 1 year, you can get an EIDL loan, you can get a PPP loan, you can get a grant. So we kept saying that to you for 2020. Open a business, open a business. See, opening a business, there again, see, survival. Not the susu business, where every time this person, you recruit new people, you find it. No, stop. Come on, let's do real business. If you're gonna do business with a product. And let that product has to have something surrounding you. Now, first of all, see, that's the problem. See, the first problem that we have this strange problem. We have this problem where everything that we come up with, we are dealing with a declining market. And then as we deal with this declining market, then we come back and here we are again. In this declining market, we are trying to make decisions that we can't make. See, in a declining market, if you open another business that you do not have, let me put this PowerPoint up here for you. If you're in a declining market and there you are and you're trying to make you're trying to make something make some sense. You can't make it make sense like that. No, it won't make sense because everything that you are trying to do, everything that you are trying to accomplish, it can't, because every time you're doing something, you are still sitting back and saying, now this ought to work. And the people around you, they are saying, I don't have money for what you are selling. And since they don't have money for what you are selling, they cannot be a part of what you are doing. And when they can't be a part of what you're doing, then you're sitting there because the product that you're offering in this market, it's not really the product that's going to make a lot of money. See, so now, if you're helping me with what I'm trying to say, see, in helping me with what I'm trying to say, because of what I'm trying to say to you, it is something that you've known this from the beginning of time, that if you are going to make money, it has to be something that people are willing to invest. Yes. But so now, a person comes along and everything that they're doing, they're saying, well, I have this plan. Now, what you should do, this is just me. What you should do when people come along with things like that, understand you're in a declining market. And because, what does that mean? Well, that means when you're not in the market, it's declining. Today, one of the brokers sent me a paper saying, oh, Bitcoin's at $60,000. I started laughing. And because why? Now, the minute Cash App has become something that you can use for other than silly things, you can take $20 on Cash App and buy a piece of Bitcoin. Now, if you bought Bitcoin 1 week ago, it was $52,000. Your $20 now would probably be worth $60. You saw that's nothing. Well, where's the $20? You spent it, because the reason they're opening the restaurants, the reason they're opening the beauty salons, the reason they're opening the nail shops, to part you from your money. See, that's not a declining market. That's a financial. See, that's a financial decision that is purported upon you, because if you are a consumer and not an investor, you will never, ever, ever prosper during this pandemic. You're going to have two downs. Because see, when you come out of this, you're going to ask yourself some crazy stuff. First of all, you're going to keep, how do you shift from waiting on the stimulus to providing the stimulus? The other day, maybe in Atlanta, first thing the person said, now he's looking as if he needs a hair comb. They killed them for the stimulus check. All because there's 4 or 5 kids in the house. So you're getting so much money for that. They were getting the money from the stimulus money. So probably $9,000, $10,000. See, all of this is to keep you in a situation where you are not trying to push ahead. Because see, in this market, there has to be some trust. There has to be trust between the people that you are working with and the people that you are living with and the people that you're dealing with. Some of us have to come up with something to say that we are going to work this together. See, we're going to do truly what our ancestors did. They worked together. There were not a lot of Uncle Toms, even though when you watch the pictures of Denmark Vesey and they see how people told, because there were other times when along the Underground Railroad, there were people of color on the Underground Railroad. It was not all white. There were Black people on the Underground Railroad. There has to become some trust amongst us. And this trust has to extend beyond just this craziness that we're doing. Oh man, let me hurry. So then we have this other situation, costs. How much are you going to invest? Because see, you have to invest something. It has to be one of these things where here I am I willing to invest? Can I trust what I'm investing in? And then that's that last part of this whole thing, margins. What is my potential for error? What can I come and how can I make sure? See, when you're investing, there are no certainties. If there were, it wouldn't be investing. There's no such thing as shooting ducks in the barrel. But the thing that happens, you have to be careful. Number one, when you're doing these things, you have to trust some things. First, you got to prioritize. Yes. No, I haven't even, no, this is not economic theology. This is just getting you to that. So there you are. Then you have to think about prospering. There is not a sin in being wealthy. But when you meet these persons who try to make you think that it is a sin to be wealthy, that is the negativity. That didn't come from our ancestors. Because when the slaves became free, when you see the movies show the slaves who stayed on the plantation. The movies show the slaves who didn't want to leave Massa. Now you should be ashamed of yourself believing that. But what they didn't show, the slaves who didn't get the man, Mr. Howard, who was in charge of making sure that all the slaves would get their land. Just like here, look at the pandemic. Look at the people trusting, the politicians gonna make sure everything is right. And you're like, is there an election coming? No, don't worry. Y'all gonna get it. I know that sounds negative. No, it isn't. That's a reality. Because see, what you're trying to do now, you're trying to monetize. So Mr. Howard, who was in charge of making sure, but he did a lot of things, freedom schools, he did the things that would make him look good historically. So now he comes up and there you are, and you see Howard University named their school after him. But nobody's tried to tear down that, but they'll tear down the statues. So they won't tear down the things that stifle you. They won't tear the things down that prevent you from moving forward. So you'll sit there and then you hear the people come in and they want to talk about the critical race theories and all that. Stop. You got to monetize. So if you're going to get this 1,500 or 1,400 or 2,000 plus whatever they're going to do, that's not to buy Nike. That isn't to buy the new PS5. That isn't to do that. That's to sit back, put this money in your account. And could I ask you a personal question? If you don't own a home, don't you want to own a home? So now you just got $10,000 and you could take $10,000 and 3.5% on an FHA. But if you live in places like Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, and places like that, you can get rural home loans, 100% financing. And there you are with a $10,000 or $15,000. You can make the owner, not make the owner, you can ask the owner for what are called concessions. They will help you with paying the closing costs, no down payment, 100% financing. But then just like us. So somebody come along and say, well, that's information you should sell. We always selling the wrong things. See, we're always selling the wrong thing, the wrong things. So there we are, instead of someone coming in and saying, listen, I'm trying to buy a house. And you sit there and you say, well, this is how you can make this work. No, you can't buy a $700,000 house because you got to pay for it. But a $200,000, $150,000 house is better than living in an apartment. Because every time you pay $1,000 a month for the apartment, you get nothing but a receipt. You pay the $1,000 a month in the house, you're building equity. And so now here you are, 45, 50 years old, and you're buying a house because now you're monetizing. Then you sit there and yes, if you're traveling, you need a car. So now you got to look around. No, don't go on the lot and go to shouting for a car cost $17,000. Your payment $700 a month. You should be ashamed of yourself. $700 a month, that car should cost $70,000. So now you sit there, and if your credit is not where it should be, then you wait and you get your credit to where you can walk on the car lot and you can purchase a car where they do not gouge you with these high interest payments, 14%, 12%. No, that isn't a blessing from God. See, now there we are again. See, when I start talking to you about the economic trinity, everything about that is about you prospering. It's not about you putting a noose around your neck. So an economic theology is that before I make a decision, I have to learn how to pray about it, think about it, do my due diligence. And then when I come up on these things then are not the worst thing in the world for me. Because see, now we have 4 things that I want you to take notes from. Bitcoin, the stock market, real estate. Then I got this word I call authenticate. See, with the Bitcoin, everything, that's cryptocurrency. And now we have 4 that are basically tearing the market up. Bitcoin, ETH, Dogecoin, they're tearing the market up. And you should have you a little bit in each. So rather than cash apping the grocery store, not the grocery store, but the restaurant, cash apping some kid with bad spending habits, take the cash app and buy you a piece of a Bitcoin or buy you a fractional share of a stock. And then come and start looking for real estate opportunities right in your neighborhood. Oh my goodness. Lived in Georgia, lived in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. You can almost buy houses there for 0% down. New York is kind of tough because, yes, when I was barking, you should invest. Everybody looking at me. And I thank God for COVID because now it's like I speak it and I stand by it and I go on and trying to make this thing work because I do know that much of my ministry is going to happen after the pandemic because the people coming out of the pandemic who have prospered are not going to want to hear you talking about what happened to you in the pandemic, what you lost, what got taken from you, what got away from you. They don't want to hear it. They didn't take the time and do what we are doing, sit down on a Friday night with some popcorn, a pen and a pad, and listen to someone talk to you in a very, very mild, intelligent way. I used to sit by the fireplace and talk to you. But the thing happens is that sitting there with you saying, this is how you make things work. Stop looking at other people prosper and then you start prospering. Now, let's talk about that because we all look at the income by race. And every time you hear the people talk, it is true. If you work for me, I pay you what I want to pay you. Nobody can make me pay you anything differently. That's right. No matter, all right, even if you got $14, $15 an hour, you still can't make it on that. So the thing happens is that when I look, they always tell me about the higher income. It's always doctors. Yes. Then they talk about the lower incomes, always the hourly wage earner. But then you're in a time of pandemic where you could take $50 and get you a LLC and find something that can supplement your income. See, if you followed me with the stocks, the bonds, the Bitcoin, then you followed me with the real estate. Then after you followed me with the real estate, then you come back and we talk about this economic theology. Because see, this situation happens. If you didn't know it, you could blame God. But when you know it, then you find a way to make it work. One of the most horrible, greatest movies that you could ever watch is called the Django, because the D is silent. Here's a former slave, and his job now is that he's trying to find his wife. So he comes on as if he's a slave purchaser with another guy who's helping him, but he's actually an excellent marksman, and he's been running down people who've gotten away from the law. He got a ton of money. So he's trying to find her. He comes into Mississippi and in Louisiana, Mississippi, one of those, finding her. And there's another slave saying, I know why they're here. He ain't buying fighters. He's looking for this girl. And when they find this out, they look at him and say, where did you get all this money from? Where did you learn to read? Where did you learn to write? See, the situation happens. That's what's going to happen with the pandemic. The emphasis has to be on the main benefit. And then that is your income. But then your income has to also be supplemented by your skills. And your skills are going to be the things and that will make you more money. And you were trying to make money, but then it's hard to make money when every time you look up, you have to bring more people in. And this is how you make money. Come on now. So let's do this. So look through the newspapers, look through the Facebook. You should spend more time on the marketplace of Facebook trying to find a house. Somebody may say, give me $5,000, take over the payments. They may say, I'll finance it for you. And stop. You say, oh, well, I don't like this house. I don't like that house. This is fine. That's your second house. See, your first house is I'm going to get in where I fit in. Then my second house, I want to beef it up just a little bit more. My third house is going to be my mansion. But see, those are the things that you talk about when you look at not the theology of economics, but economic theology. So I can sit here all day and hear the silliness that is really not Christian theology. They've taken the Luke passages about a place at the tables and have merged it with Dharma and merged it with thought from Hindu thought. See, the table that you and I are part of has already been spread. It has already been provided. So I'll link to everything that God has for us. Now, there again, look at that economic trinity. See, that economic trinity says that it is stating that God will supply all of your needs according to his riches and glory. But then here he is now, and he's placing before you someone to sit here and tell you this is how it's done. And if, but then people are going to sit and say, oh no, you shouldn't look at it that way. You shouldn't do it from that angle. You block that out and you come here. You have to have some Bitcoin in your portfolio. Yes, you have to, because if you don't, what's going to happen is that a part of that you're going to miss. Got to have some stocks. Now, what I did on the PowerPoint, number one, on the PowerPoint, I did some things like an investing model. And it says underneath, do your due diligence. So you have to research. And then after you research, you have to decide how much you're going to finance. And then after you decide how much you're going to finance, then you have to determine how much you're going to invest. Now here, if you write this down, so you have two market opportunity options, and they're called CAPS, C-A-P-S. Anything less than $1 billion is called a small cap. Anything more than $3 billion. See, that's why Elon Musk needed to get up to 300 billion, because he wanted to become a part of the S&P, Standard & Poor's. He wanted to be the part that determines how much other stocks are sold for, how much investors are earning. And there's a possibility. Now, I don't know this because what I do now, I read. And, so what happens is that when I was going to work every day, I was privy to the sheets, pink and white, that would tell exactly what other persons were thinking about Elon Musk or Tesla or some other company. And then from there, I could come and give you even more information on what we call due diligence. But here's the thing. If you invested on over-the-counter stocks and you would invest in them, they're normally less than $1. And then you go to Yahoo Finance and you look. Then you come to your Webull or your Robinhood account and you invest $25, $30 every week or every month into these. If they ever hit $1, that one penny that you bought 100,000 shares for $100, you turn around and it has come to be $1. So now you just made $100,000. Now you tell me all that took was reading, all that took was pushing a few buttons. Invest, read, do your due diligence, and then finance, and you find a place to put your investment. That's called a small cap. The large caps are those other things. So then when you're doing that, you got opportunity to build, you got the freedom to invent, and actually you're going to find you don't have much competition. So with all of these things that you're going through, these are the things that are so much important. They are important because, see, at the end of these things, I don't want you, hey Shirley, I don't want you looking at these things and then now here you are. We sit there, and it was so funny now, I was laughing because there was a young lady, she was given stock by the lady who sings Over the Rainbow, but she was given some stocks. And so Mr. Floyd's daughter was said, oh, I always wanted to go to Disney World, but now I own stock. And, and I was sitting there and I was just laughing because it was a wonderful type of thing. But these are the things. Rather than $1,000 in a PS5, I take $1,000 and buy Sony stock. I take $1,000 and I know it's $500 when you can find it at Walmart, but they're hard to find. They're mostly $1,000, but they come on the market $500. A guy was telling me I had some shoes, with sneakers, but they were just a box. Somebody had taken the sneakers. Oh man, because the sneakers are worth $8,000 now, but I paid $200 for them, but I never wore them. And the thing happens is that within all of those things, what I'm saying to you is that as an investor, that's what you're trying to do. And I'm gonna have to get off of this. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to become an investor. You are an investor. But who are you leaving? See, you're setting the investments up because there's a principle that's in the economy of God or the economy of the Trinity. This is what it says, that a good man or a good woman leaves an inheritance for their children's children. Do you know the tragedy? And one of the things, like a part of this new, it's not new, it's been a part of, no, this is not a political statement. I just like when people tell me something, that they just give it to me how it really is and don't flush it. Okay, FEMA was prevented from paying for funerals because COVID was not deemed a natural disaster. So now you can say whatever you like. There were many people who believed that COVID was a covert attack. You can't beat America's army. You can't beat America's technology. You can't beat anything about America. But you found out that Americans like to congregate. So you find a disease that you could push there, and this becomes a pandemic. But there's some people standing around you who truly understands how this disease works. They've never stopped investing in stocks. The other day, do you know a man bought a $35 million home? It was listed at $100 million. And because of COVID, it was reduced. Somebody had $35 million to invest in a house. I don't need that. 350, 400, 900. I'm cool. But there you are. I'm from Perry, Georgia. Houses in Perry now, $200,000. And I'm like, well, why are you going up so high? Warner Robins, 250, 300,000. So if I lived in one of those and I didn't have a mortgage, I'll sit there and I'll walk over to Warner Robins Air Force. I run Robins Credit Union. I borrow me as much money as they will lend me. And then I will look for me some other houses that I can purchase while I am employed, while I have this. I will look for investments. I will look, and when I'm watching the news, you remember GameStop? June of last year was $12. It went all the way up $250. Then after that, you sell what you have, you make your money, you're done. Those are the things that you do. That's why you come here with me. But oh yes, would I love to just take a text and squall a little bit? Oh sure, but there's time for that. Now the time here, we're saying let's make some money. Let me take a couple of questions, and then I'm going to get off of here. And yes, I'm going to tell you right now, is that I'm behind a little bit in terms of some things, but oh yes. But we tried this chicken salad, and so we're going to get us some chicken salad sandwiches, and at the Cheesecake Factory, yes, almost definitely, and then sit down and enjoy, look at the water, call it a day. Can't travel like we want to, so you make all things work. But now that's what I'm saying. So how do you start? We talked about Robin Hood. We talked about Webull. We talked about E-Trade. Then we talked about Ameritrade. These don't require a broker. Then I always say $100, $200 a month. Some may want to do more, $100, $150. Oh my God, and you'd be in great shape. But then you turn around, and just like the other day, the Floyd family were rewarded $27 million. Yes, in Minneapolis, but all the money that had been already given to them, $10, $12 million. And so we're sitting there, and the young girl. Now, I would love to call and say, have you bought any stock other than the one Barbara Streisand gave to you? Have they bought you any more stock to help you? Because you have to do some of that. And the little companies that are what we call small cap, under $1 billion, become the large companies, like a Tesla, that now the capitalization is in the trillions. Yes, in the trillions. I know I said 300 million. That's what it took for him to get to the S&P. But his company is worth in the trillion. And those are the things. So how do you start your investments? Well, you start your investment, you have to have an investment account. Webull, Robinhood, Ameritrade, E-Trade. One of those, you buy it, and they will allow you to purchase fractional shares of stock. They will allow you to do all those things. And then all you have to do from there, yes. Oh, sure. Yes, I was the Wayans brothers. I was a fan of that. And they had the guy he was the making, more money. And see, and this is the only place now here's the thing. You'll say, well, Pastor, it's hard listening to the preacher talk about money. No, it isn't. It's hard listening to the preacher telling you to give your money. But when a preacher is telling you to invest your money, that should be the easiest conversation. Matter of fact, I should have 10,000, 20,000 people listening to this. But that's the problem. The survival theology, because everybody wants to be a minister. Paul Shearer, he said that we have a Messiah complex. You want to save the world.
You don't have to save the world. Save yourself and your family. Yes. Save yourself and your family. You sit there, put some money aside. Oh, sure. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And live the life of Leroy. Oh, yeah. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. You take it easy. Oh, I'm going on in. And I thank you for everything. Oh, yes, 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 yes. God bless you. Take care. Take it easy. And thank you.